Hello everyone, welcome. This is the LoftyLoops Yarns podcast, but this is going to be a little bit of a special episode. This is actually going to be my Tour de Fleece roundup incredibly late. I am Allison, the dyer behind LoftyLoops Yarns. If you are new here, welcome to the channel. I hope you enjoy your stay. If you've been around, then you know videos and podcasts go up sporadically. I had sat down and made sort of a promise to myself that I was going to vlog through Tour de Fleece this year, and did really well throughout Tour de Fleece. And then when I went to do the roundup video after the event ended, it just didn't happen. And then the more I put it off, the harder it became to actually sit and just do it. And so today I'm like, no, we're gonna sit down and we're gonna just do it. It is September 12th, 2025, and it's a very long time past Tour de Fleece, so I do apologize. I think in the last episode of the podcast that went up last month, I was like, oh yeah, the roundup video is probably already up by the time you're seeing this. It wasn't. I lied to you, and I'm so sorry for that. Life just lifed, and honestly, this one of these handspuns that I'll chat about here in a bit was one of the first ones I started. Nah, not the first one. Anyway, I started it during Tour de Fleece when I got my SpinOlution Pollywog. And I'll get into it a little bit when I chat about the skein, but it didn't get done for a really long time. And I kind of had this goal in mind that was like, I have to finish that skein. I have to finish the yarn in order to share it during the roundup. So that was kind of in my brain, my blocker that was happening, even though that's kind of a silly blocker and I should have, whatever. But here we are, we're sitting down, we're talking, and I have two yarns behind me. I also have so many others to chat about today. So yes, I also have some right here on bobbins that need to be plied together. They were not part of Tour de Fleece, so I'll chat about them a little bit, but I'll probably save the deep dive for the next podcast episode. But yeah, here, should we get a nice picture for the thumbnail of all of the handspun? I was a busy bee throughout Tour de Fleece, and the bug bit, and it bit hard, and yeah, here we are. So I'm super happy, dropping yarn all over the place. Super happy with what I ended up with. I have not yet started using any of them. However, I have been thinking in terms of projects I'd like to make and kind of things to do with it. So Brandy of Long Dog Yarn, this is kind of a tangent, but it's related. Long Dog Yarn, she actually created a Ravelry bundle in her favorites that include tons of patterns for just great for hand spun yarns, essentially. A lot of them are like Andrew Mowry. I know she's done a lot of stuff with hand spun or spin cycle, things like that. But there are a lot of other ones that I had never heard of, and that would be great for hand spun projects. So I'll leave a link to her bundle in the description below if you're also interested in checking that out. But Brandy, if for whatever reason you're watching this, I appreciate you so much for making that, because that is exactly what I was looking for and needed for all of these skeins. So I've got my notebook because I know these are not going to be easy to remember. During Tour de Fleece, I don't know how well that's going to pick up, but I did create a little chart and kind of kept track of what I was spinning during the event, and kind of went in order and then wrote down what I spun on. Spoiler alert, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 skeins, technically 6. I did write a 7th on here, but it wasn't started during. So out of 6 projects during Tour de Fleece, 5 of them were spun on my electric eel wheel. So I have 1 on my Pollywog, and then I did end up getting a Bullfrog after the event was ended, and I could chat a little bit about that later as well. I also kept some thoughts over here of just kind of how I was feeling throughout spinning all these things. For example, I'll just run, there's not a lot, but I'm not really a fan of Wensleydale. It's too scratchy for me and it doesn't have much bounce stretch. I love Rambo. Super springy. BFL has been a joy to spin. Shanico is so soft. And I want to try to spin from the fold soon. I never did actually get around to that, but it's on my list. It was a random thought that I had. So that's kind of fun to like have those little notes jotted down as I was working through. Some of these you will have seen if you watched the vlogs from Tour de Fleece. I talked about them as I finished them, but I thought a nice roundup video would, I don't know, be fun. So in order, I think, of when I finish these, this one's already been put away. I've got this giant boy of Witchfire fibers, and I did stick the tag back on there with all the details. This was the very first one. I believe I started spinning right before the event and finished spinning during the event. This was 2 different braids, one 4-ounce braid of, let's see, Ancestors and a 4-ounce braid of Reclaim. Ancestors was variegated, Reclaim was a tonal or semi-solid. And so I spun up one, spun up the other, and then combo applied them together. So this is a 2-ply. Oh, it wouldn't fit on the bobbin because it was 8 ounces and I was spinning on my electric eel wheel. And so I had to break it and then I finished off the rest onto another bobbin. So all the same, 100% American Rambouillet. Like I said, 4 ounces of Ancestors, 4 ounces of Reclaim. I have 240 grams total, or 723 yards. This is likely a DK weight, although there is probably some sport weight in there for some thick and thin. I love this. I love the colors. I don't know yet what it'll be, but this is definitely going on the top of the pile because I want to use this very, very soon. The next thing I had on the wheel was my Yarn Jam Brand New Day, and that was Shanico. That was part of the Year of Fiber from La Mercerie. So if you've been around, you might remember that I joined in the Year of Socks and the Year of Fiber clubs from La Mercerie, where you get a braid of fiber and a sock set shipped every month. And Yarn Jam Brand New Day was what I started spinning once I got my Pollywog. This was the one that took me a really long time and actually was the last one that I had just finished. So it sat neglected for a while. I haven't even skeined it up yet. I literally just took it off the bobbin and I have not weighed, nor have I checked the yardage on it. Literally just came off and I haven't even washed it yet. So I love the colors. It's so fun, so pretty. This is probably about the same DK sport-ish weight. This one gave me troubles. I'm sure I don't have a full 4 ounces because I did end up losing a lot of it. Part of my reason was because I started spinning on the Pollywog. So during Tour de Fleece, I wanted to get a new wheel and I couldn't decide between the Pollywog and the Bullfrog. The Bullfrog is much larger. It's got a giant flyer on it, giant bobbins. The Pollywog is smaller, more kind of condensed. It has 4-ounce bobbins and it's just more travel friendly. So I couldn't decide, so I did the irresponsible thing and ordered them both. Pollywog came in first, so I was super excited to start spinning on it. Started spinning this and just ran into a lot of new spinning hiccups. I couldn't get the draft right. I thought it had to do with the ratios and it being smaller. I thought maybe I couldn't spin fast enough to get a fine single. A lot of it was new wheel issues, things to like, get through the learning curve of spinning on a new wheel. But I was getting really frustrated and really just kind of bummed. Here is my Yarn Jam so far. I'm almost done with the first bobbin. I just have this little bit left to put on there and then I will start the other bobbin. This one took me quite a while to get my, I don't know, just how I was spinning the singles. It took me quite a while to get everything situated. And of course I jumped in like feet first without actually reading about what I needed to do. So when I first started, my or I was on the smallest whirl. So like that itty bitty one down there. And so I've moved it all the way up, which I'm much happier with now, but I'm afraid whatever's underneath this is going to be really under spun. But I don't know. It's all practice on a brand new wheel, right? So happy with how it's going now. The colors are beautiful, that bright, almost coral orange, and then the pop of turquoise is just chef's kiss. I love these two colors together. So working through that, and then hopefully I will have another finished skein to share soon. Also, I want to note that I am 5'7", 5'8"-ish, so I am rather tall, and the Pollywog sits really low. So it is a little bit more uncomfortable for me in terms of just height. They do have something that you can purchase, like an addition, that will raise the flyer up to a little bit higher. However, that is a couple hundred. I mean, it's not super cheap. And so when I was thinking in terms of, okay, well, if I want to upgrade the height and then I want to upgrade the flyer to hold larger bobbins and I want to do all these things, and then I want to update or upgrade to, what is it? They have something to where you get more, like the whirls. They have a whirl upgrade so you can get more ratios to spin on. If I wanted to do all those upgrades, then in the end it was going to be more expensive than the Bullfrog. And so I don't know. I was like, whatever, I'm just going to stick with it, stick it out. Once I got about a third of the way through that spin, I did end up kind of getting my groove. It got better. I still wasn't really a fan when all was said and done. I did end up applying this on the Bullfrog. So I spun everything on the Pollywog and then I switched to the Bullfrog to apply. I just not a big fan of the Pollywog, and I might end up destashing or reselling or something. I just don't see myself using it. I don't feel like I would gravitate towards that wheel when I'm ready to start a new project. So yeah, that is Yarn Jam, brand new day on Shanico. And again, I didn't measure anything or weigh anything yet, but I will do that. I've created on Ravelry, you can have in your stash, if you're a Ravelry user, you can stash yarns, you can also stash fiber, and then you can create hand spun projects. And so I do have hand spun projects for all of these, where I'm keeping all of the notes that I would need to keep, as well as adding weights, yardage, all that stuff in there. So if it's something that you're super interested in and you need to know, you can go check that out. Otherwise, yeah, I don't know. Once I go to use this, I will measure it, check yardage, and all the good things. But I love these colors. I'm sad that the process of spinning this was so, I don't know, not fun for me, because it had nothing to do with the fiber itself. This was so much fun to spin. I loved watching the colors spin up, and I love Yarn Jam fiber just in general, and I will definitely be ordering more. So, and it's very nice. It's very squishy, very soft. 2-ply. A lot of these are 2-ply. That's kind of my go-to. So that is that. Next up on my eel wheel, I wanted to spin up some of my own hand-dyed fiber. So I don't remember if I talked about this during the vlogs, but I did start playing around with dyeing some fiber up. Specifically during my color cube club that I host on the website, where I dye up a colorway inspired by a color cube card every month. I was like, this could easily be a way to play with some fiber. I'll just take that palette, translate it over to fiber, and we'll see what shakes out. So I started doing that back in April probably, and didn't really sell a whole lot because, again, I was just playing. I wanted to be able to spin up some of my own before I was like ready to offload it and sell it to other people, just in case I felt the heck out of it, things like that. But this is 100% organic Polworth, and this was my April Color Cube Club colorway. Say that 3 times fast. Similar in terms of colors, I think, ish, to the Yarn Jam. This is much more vibrant, this is more muted, and I apologize for the lighting. It is not super sunny today. It looks like it's sunny, but it's very overcast. So I've got my indoor lights on. my studio lights. So anyway, like I said, this is organic Polworth. It is a 2-ply again, probably about the same weight, probably DK. And let's see, I've got 173 yards, and this was a 4-ounce braid. That one I started on July 17th, and I finished it on the 20th. So I was a spinning machine, yes, and that was on my electric eel wheel from Dreaming Robots. The next one I added on my wheel was another combo spin. So this was a combination of 2 different 4-ounce braids. It is so large that I was having trouble skeins it, so that is why it's just in this like giant hank, which isn't the prettiest, but it'll do. This was another year of fiber stash. So this was Storyteller Stitchery in Coastal Bloom on BFL, and I paired it with Daenerys from the Fiber Fox. That was, I think, Corriedale. That was a thing I ordered when she had an update a while back, and the 2 together, I'll insert some photos if I still have them, but the 2 of them together just looked really pretty, and so I combo spun them. And it just ended up being this really nice muted pastel yarn. Again, 2-ply, probably a DK. Everything was spun on my electric eel wheel. I've got 195 grams, 526 yards. This would be really pretty as a colorwork yoke because it is just so soft, and I don't know, it's really nice. I can't describe it. I'm really happy with this. I need to take it out to my skein twister and see if I can't get it skeined up, because these giant 8-ounce skeins they're chunky for sure. This was the first time I had spun BFL. I really, really enjoyed it. That's where that note came from, that BFL has been a joy to spin. I have since purchased more BFL fiber. Not the first time I spun Corriedale, but did love the BFL. It was super great. Side note, side tangent, all of the dyers and fibery people will be in the description box below. So if you want to go check out any of their shops, I will have that for you. This one I did include, I kept the little braid labels. So this one unfortunately was exclusive to the Year of Fiber, so I'm not sure you can get it anymore, but highly recommend checking out Storyteller Stitchery for their other colorways and things that they might have on their website. And then this label I put back around, and that is the Fiber Fox. She is based over in the UK. I think she is still shipping to the US without getting too on tangent of what is going on in the world today. There are many, many UK dyers and makers that are no longer shipping to the US because of tariffs and things like that. However, I do feel like a lot of them are figuring out a way to make it work where we as the US based buyer are able to pay the tariff fee, and so then they will still ship. So don't quote me on it, but Georgie and Ben of the Fiber Fox, they might still be shipping to the US, but I've been a fan of Georgie and Ben forever, so happy to have some of that fiber spun up. The next one, I didn't have these in my list, but they were a carryover from pre-Tour de Fleece, so they were on the wheel. I wanted to get them off the wheel, so I had clear bobbins, things like that. I know I talked about this in episode 1 of the vlog, but we'll quickly share the finished products. I'm pretty sure I've already shared finishes, but share them again. Oh, and I'm doing a terrible job, y'all. I did have a little bit of that Storyteller Stitchery in the Coastal Bloom left over when I plied the 2 braids together, and so I ended up chain plying, I think. Nope. No, this is a 2-ply. So I made an Andean ply bracelet. I can leave a link to a tutorial in the description. First time I tried that, but it's essentially where you wrap the extra single around your arm and then you're able to ply the 2 ends together to make a 2-ply back on itself. So I've got a little mini here left over of that Coastal Bloom. so you can really see the colors and how pretty those were. And then just adding that Fiber Fox braid just really kind of muted it all and made it blend, and it was just gorgeous. So, okay, now jumping back, the Plies and Hellhounds Advent from 2024. I apologize, I'm looking down, I'm reading my notes because there are a lot of things to keep track of here. I had 12 mini bumps of Wensleydale fiber, and I had a full 4-ounce braid of, I don't know, it was like the final day of the Advent. I can't remember the name of it. And then I purchased another 4-ounce braid of Wensleydale from Gabby at Plies and Hellhounds, because I had the ounces didn't add up to 2-ply it all together. So that second 4-ounce braid I bought was, oh, I guess I didn't write that down either. So all of that to say, I had 12 mini bumps, 4-ounce braid plus another 4-ounce braid, and ended up getting all of this from those. So here I have, looks like 12.7 ounces between the two. The bumps I didn't spin in any specific order. I was just grabbing them and adding them, spun all of them into a single, and then plied them with the braid. And because of that, I had more of the bumps than I had of the braid, so I bought the second braid, which is why these look slightly different, and the bumps were all just a mismatch of different colors and things. So they made really fun, variegated, kind of wild skeins. I did 2-ply them, like I said, and they're probably about DK. This is probably closer to a worsted, heavy DK. These two together, I have 12.7 ounces. I don't know if I mentioned that already, which is a lot. And then I did have some of the mini bumps left over after I had plied everything with the 2 braids. This is 86 yards and about 2 ounces of a mini. So this is just those mini bumps. And I love the colors in this one. It's really pretty. I like the idea of Wensleydale. It looks really pretty. It looks really rustic. It's got nice fluff to it, if you can see that. However, it isn't next to skin soft. It is a little bit more rustic feeling, a little scratchy, not horrible, but it just isn't super springy. I've heard that it's a nice fiber to use for like drapiness, if you want to make something drapier. I have no idea what these will end up being, but super happy to have them all spun because they were languishing for sure, because they were Advent last year. And speaking of Advents, fiber Advents last year, I still have one on my Ashford Kiwi is over here. That was a bat vent that I joined in on from Knit Spin Farms, and I haven't finished that one either. I probably should do that very, very soon, considering it is September and the next round of Advents will be happening shortly. Okay, back to things I finished in Tour de Fleece. This was started and finished during Tour de Fleece. This was another year of fiber from La Mercerie braid. This is 40 Winks fibers. Here's her little band, so cute. Look at that little mouse. And the colorway is Weathering. It is a Shanico silk blend, 75% Shanico wool, 25% mulberry silk, 21 microns, 4 ounces. And this braid was beyond beautiful, and I couldn't wait to get it on the wheel. So here we have it. This was also 2-plied. I feel like all I do is 2-ply. Probably sport to DK. That's kind of my go-to. It's what I'm comfortable with. It's just sort of what happens when I'm sitting at my wheel. Kind of my happy place. Very, very pretty. I've got 265 yards. Started it on July 30th, finished it on August 11th, and it was spun on my electric eel wheel. I love the muted pinks and grays in here, kind of the mauvey feel, just super pretty. This would make a really pretty hat, I think, like a hand spun hat. Yeah, again, really happy with another one. I don't know that I've ever spun anything that I was not happy with. I think the act of just taking the fiber from the braid itself and creating something completely different is like in itself feels like, I don't know, like a feat and something to be celebrated. So I don't know that I've ever actually spun anything up and was like, nope, don't like it, because I put so much work into creating the thing. I will say I've spun some things up where the colors I'm like, not my jam, looked pretty in the braid, was just fun. I'm learning that I'm much more of a process spinner, I think, than I am of a product spinner. So I just like the act of spinning. It's calming to me, it's meditative, it's just comforting, it's just really nice. It's rhythmic, and I just kind of get into the groove. So I spin things to spin them. I don't spin thinking, oh, this braid is going to look this way as a yarn for this project specifically, so I'm spinning to create the final product to then knit into something or crochet into something. So yeah, I enjoy the act of spinning, and I think it's more fun that way because I just have a wide range of different colors and fibers to play with. If I was only ever spinning anything that I would knit into a garment for myself, I feel like I'd be very limiting in the colors that I would choose, if that makes sense. Random spinning thoughts for you. That was technically the end of Tour de Fleece, but after that, I do have a couple more things that I can share because it was like quickly after that. And since I made you all wait so long after the event to share the final products, I figure we can just talk about these real fast. So going back to the Color Cube clubs, I did dye up some of the August Color Cube club on American Rambouillet and wanted to spin that up to see what it looked like and love the final result. I'm also happy to say that I am now offering the Color Cube Club every month on Fiverr as a pre-order instead of just playing around and then popping some braids in the shop afterwards. If you're interested, you can now grab any of the Color Cube Clubs during the month. So I will say it is September, so you can grab the September Color Cube Club on Fiverr as a pre-order. I have Rambouillet and I have Shanico Silk. So very exciting. They are limited, but happy to offer those as a pre-order. So this was last month. This was August. I love the browns. There are swaths of yellow, kind of golden yellows, and then some nice pale blues in here, and it all just really blended nicely together. Yeah, I think this again would make a great hat, would make kind of more of a, like a natural muted like shawl or garment. That's one thing I noticed when I went to grab a shawl out of my pile to wear. I was kind of wearing more of a Wild Louder shirt, so I wanted something more neutral to throw on to keep myself warm when we went to the pumpkin patch a couple weeks ago. And I realized pretty much everything I knit is loud and wild and bright. I don't have a whole lot of just neutral, muted things. So very excited to have this in my arsenal that I can cast on into something. And looks like I had a little bit left on one of the bobbins, and so I chain plied it back on itself. And so I have a little bit of a mini here. Let's see, I didn't write down the weights, but I would assume it's pretty close to like the size of a mini that I dye up on, you know, for sock sets and advents and things. So I'd say it's pretty close to 20 ounces. Probably a DK weight to heavy DK. And again, there are definitely spots in here where we're really close to fingering, but then there are also more, you know, DK weighted spots in here. Trying really hard to become more consistent on my spins, and I do think I'm getting better, which is awesome. Yeah, and again, it's easy to do on the electric eel wheel as well because you're not treadling. You just turn it on, you set the speed, and then the spinning action is always consistent. Whereas if you're treadling, you know, sometimes I might get distracted and I'll start treadling slower or faster, and then all of a sudden things aren't matching up like they were. But with the electric eel wheel, it's much easier. So as long as I'm keeping my drafting consistent, I can usually get a pretty darn consistent yarn. And it is, like I said, it's getting better. It's taken a lot of practice, but I feel like with every skein, things are getting more and more consistent, which is exciting. And as a quick preview, this I will chat more about in my next podcast. But this is September's Color Cube Club. So I do have all of it spun. I divided the braid into thirds, hamburger style. So I split short ways, not long ways where you're tearing all the way down the braid, but I split it in thirds, made sure each third was the same amount in terms of grams, and then spun each one. I did split those thirds hot dog ways, so long ways, just to kind of prep it down a little bit more. And then I think I split it in 4, and then I just spun all those end to end. So I wasn't really doing anything super specific. I just wanted to make sure that hopefully I had equal amounts on each bobbin. And then I'm going to do a traditional 3-ply with these. I've only ever chain plied to get a 3-ply, so I'm excited to have 3 different bobbins and then spin those in a 3-ply just to kind of see, just to play, try new things. I will say this braid was very much out of my comfort zone. The September clubs were very bright orange, red, colors I don't gravitate towards personally, but I love the way the yarn turned out, and this definitely grew on me as I continued to spin it, and so I'm very excited to see what the final product looks like. So that will be happening very soon. And I think that's all I have. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, not including 2 little minis. 8 skeins of hand spun yarn all over the summer. We'll say that. Obviously I did start the Advent one back last December, but the majority of these were all started either in June, July, or August. And so very happy to have all of these to add to my stash. Still trying to decide what I do with all of this. There's no way, as much as I'm spinning, I'm gonna end up having an overflowing hand spun stash. Like I don't know what to do with a lot of these. And so I did ask, I think on my stories and Instagram, what people do with their extra hand spun. Like, do you gift it? Do you de-stash it? I know that there are people that spin and sell hand spun as like that is their whole business. I don't think I'm consistent enough or good enough at spinning yet to actually sell these as like a, here's my hand spun, because there are some issues in a lot of the skeins, and that's okay. So I don't feel like I would sell them as like a final hand spun product, but de-stash I could do. Yeah, I don't know. Let me know. Are you in the same boat? Do you just stash it all away, squirrel it all away for a rainy day? I don't know, but if I keep up at the pace that I was going, and I have been, I will say I've been continually spinning ever since Tour de Fleece ended, I'm going to have a very large hand spun stash. Oh, these were on the floor. Can't forget these. This one is probably, because of the colors, this one's probably my favorite of all of them. But I am a blue, purple, pink girly, so this one just sings to me. I do love this one a lot, as well as the weathering. This one I love a lot too. So, all right. Well, thank you so much for being patient with me, waiting until this finally arrived over a month later, month and a half later than it should have. I don't even know. But yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate all the views on the Tour de Fleece vlogs. That was really fun to spin and vlog through the event and just share what I was working on. I loved hearing everything that you all were working on. or just the cheers of, you know, kind of cheering me on. It was great. Super happy with how things are going right now in terms of crafting. I'm kind of, I don't know, I feel like I'm kind of just escaping into my crafting lately. When I can, I'm knitting, I'm spinning, just escaping the day to day, as I'm sure a lot of us are. And really excited that the cooler weather is coming this weekend. It's warming back up to like high 90s, 100, but there for a while at the beginning of the week and end of last week, it was gorgeous, like 60 to 70. I had windows open, I had a pumpkin spice candle going, I've broke out the pumpkin spice creamer, I'm doing all the things. Fall is here and you can't change my mind. I know technically and officially it is not, but in my brain it is, and please let me just have this. Yeah, so moving forward, I have a lot of things planned. Working on advents right now for the shop. Still have the Color Cube Club going. Have a lot of orders I've put in to places. I can quickly share these just for funsies. I'll probably share them again in more detail on the next podcast. But like I said, my spinning bug bit and I've been a busy spinner. And so I have been ordering more fiber braids like it's my job. So these are from Paisley Knits. Is it Paisley Knits? Paisley Knits? I feel like I should know this. She had a in-stock update with some of her leftovers from different various things, and so I couldn't resist and grabbed a few more braids. Beautiful, beautiful braids. Yeah, I've got some more on the way. Like I said, it's gonna be overflowing, but you know what? I'm having a blast jumping in, spinning all the things. I know I chatted a little bit about how I wasn't a super huge fan of the Pollywog, but I will say loving the Bullfrog. Love the Bullfrog. The flyer is massive. It's got a 12-ounce bobbin that comes with it. The others are 8 ounces, which is fantastic. Treadling is great. I can do it with my toes. It takes very little effort. It's quiet, it's smooth, it's a dream. So very happy with that purchase. Hopefully, I know I took some vloggy footage, kind of some like B-roll type stuff while I was working through some of these projects, and so hopefully I will have had some of that included during this as well, so you could kind of see things in action. But I'm looking at it over here, I'm staring at it lovingly. That and its empty bobbins that desperately need something on them right now. But yeah, anyway, that's the wrap up. Thank you again for being so patient with me. Let me know in the comments if you enjoyed this type of thing. I want to know, let me know how many skeins you finished during Tour de Fleece if you participated. Did you learn anything during Tour de Fleece that you may have not known prior to? Like I said, I learned a lot of things. I learned a lot about the different fibers that I enjoy. I learned I'm a process spinner. Lots of things were learned, and so I'm curious if you learned anything about yourself. What was your favorite spin during Tour de Fleece? Yeah, just let me know. Let's chat it up. And I'm looking forward to next year. I might officially join a team next year. We shall see. Otherwise, that's where I'm going to love you and leave you. I will have another podcast, I'll say, coming soon. Hopefully it's soon. I do have a lot to chat about. Lots of exciting things are on the needles and in the works. I've made a lot of progress on some things, so I do need to sit down and do that before too long. So follow me over on Instagram if you want pretty like daily updates on what I'm working on, things in the shop. You can go check that out. That is one place I am most active. Yeah, otherwise, I hope you have a fabulous weekend. It is Friday, so happy Friday if you're watching, or have a fabulous weekend if it is your weekend. And I will chat with y'all hopefully soon. Hopefully soon. Until then, happy making, y'all. Bye.